public have any input where you're going? Okay, this is going to be everyone on the board submitted to the superintendent some goals that they would like to discuss and look over. And I think our objective this evening is to try to incrementalize these goals and come up with something that we'll be heading towards in the next year. We try to do this at least once a year. So with that in mind, you have the material and you have the floor.
I do. There was a couple of items that came up as far as the property. If that's okay to handle those first, or to
Sure.
them. We did receive an offer for a portion of the Chicago Drive parcel property, and I'm not recommending it. I mean, certainly we have to present the offer, but it divides the property down the middle. And they haven't been specific with what they want to do with the property, but they're looking for 7 acres. The price per acre is not a bad range, but it kind of makes it difficult to put the parcels of what we do with the other ones. So at this time, we'd like a little direction if you're open to this, or if you're open to shifting that to one way or the other is kind of what my thoughts would be. So they would be on one side of this or the other if they wanted to explore it. So
My feeling is it's an offer to take under consideration, but this early in the game, I'm a little bit reluctant to jump on it.
I'm with you, Dale, and even to read, they kind of derided our price. As you know from this last meeting, I see the price as a way of keeping people somewhat at bay until they do disclose what they want to do with something. So I was not all that excited about it. I think it's early on.
okay.
I wasn't excited about it either.
Okay.
I was trying to read between the lines and see what potential of who they had.
I think it's all speculation on their part, but I think they're speculating and looking for options, 390-day options to try to develop that parcel. And that's why I think we're going to cut it down to 10 at that point. So.
Okay.
You wonder if Colliers is capable of doing the same thing, right? Which is
I'm just not recommending us taking.
No, I know, but Colliers could likewise find users for their property. It's almost like them substituting themselves for Colliers. Let us tie up your property while we go look for somebody who might have use of it.
Well, I would say for all of the uses, all the offers we would consider, almost all will look for the option for this. But we're going to have to, if you want to develop the property, they're going to want to know they can get all their approvals, so they're going to look for an option. But yeah, hopefully they'll be more specific.
I was going to say, I don't think they'll all be quite so vague.
Yeah, so what they want to do with the property. So then you at least know if that's something that would enhance their neighbors. So is that clear?
Yeah, and let me just say, you didn't ask me what I thought, but that's fine. That's fine. But I agree with what's said. The first thing that struck me was where, like Dan pointed out, right in the center, and I'm thinking, I don't like that configuration at this point. It's early on, like you said, Jim, so I'm with the rest of you on that.
So we don't have to formally respond, or we just tell them it's not right there enough. If they came back with one side or the other, would we look at it more?
I would look at it again.
Yeah, okay, but not for the splitting down the middle. We'll leave it with that. Not at that price, right?
I would also just suggest that if that should happen, if you haven't done it already, you may want to go online to check out the company and discover what kind of projects they've
Been involved in.
in the past.
Commercial just centers, right? Basically,
Yeah, strip mall type situations. So some of them look okay, but that we all should be aware of that.
The other 2 items would require a closed session if you want to continue with that with property discussion, or you can do that at a subsequent point in the meeting if you decide to do so.
Board has some feelings. Want to address that now or later?
Or what?
Later.
I would suggest we do it now because later in the meeting, we're going to be doing, discussing planning and goals. And I think that's going to be a more lengthy discussion And I would anticipate the property one would be.
And not interrupt that.
Right, that's my thought. So I move we go into closed session to discuss property acquisition.
Support.
Move and support. Call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Wieringa,
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle,
Yes.
Mrs. Skolma,
Yes.
Mr. Schwam,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Do we want to move, or do you want everyone else to move?
I think they should move.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Still starting pizza without us.
I think they're going.
That's the real reason.
The motion actually come out of closed
So
session.
moved.
Support. Aye. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
The next item is to continue on the discussion of the Veterans Plaza. It's not part of the goal setting, but it is one of the goals we listed. But did you get the proposals? Did anybody get a chance to look at the different cost ranges? Okay, so we'll get those for our next agenda. But he basically talked about, what the range would be, and I can get it up here. Of what he felt
What was that for?
for the Veterans Plaza, what the cost ranges would be. And so if you would go to, he basically did an optional development and then a basic development. And so the optimal would be 344,000. And then a basic one. So that one would be about 172,000. So you're looking at that kind of range, depending on what you pick, is what you thought it would cost. Obviously, when you start presenting designs, you think you're going to make choices in between those two. So that gives you some idea whether you'd like to see more detailed plans and what you'd like to see next. You don't have to decide on those two prices. You've already asked her what the cost ranges would be to develop that corner.
Did we schedule ourselves for that now?
No, we didn't. We just wanted to know before we officially approved that as the location, what we thought the cost would be.
Whether it could go there, that was our
Yeah.
initial thing.
And what the cost would be to do so.
And then a follow-up, and I'm certainly ready for design, for whether there's any possibility of designing around the fountain.
Well, certainly, I mean, we can ask if we start to.
Whether he
design.
can use some creativity in that, rather than a separate entity,
So,
whether that has possibilities or not.
okay. Is there any other things that we would like to know, or before pursuing, or, you're talking about getting drawings now, is what you're saying, right, of that site?
I'm ready, if the board is, and also, I would be interested in some, I still would be interested in some type of recognition of what was originally on that site.
Okay. That's really not related to the veterans, which is kind of in addition to that.
Yeah, if you're gonna develop that site, no, it would not be
Right.
related to that.
Sure. Is that kind of the consensus of the board to look for a proposal for?
When you talk with them about proposals, you gave us the optimum and the basic range.
Right.
Are you going to ask him to give us a couple of proposals? In other words, let's see the basic drawing and let's see the optimum, or so that we can compare
Right.
because there's quite a difference in the two prices.
Right, it's depending what you.
Estimate, I should say,
Yeah.
cost estimate.
I'll give you a list, and so you all have it at the next meeting, so you can
Well,
talk more.
also, when you go down that road, what I appreciate what the board is an important input, they seem to like the concept before of the 5 flags, whether that's still there, or also, at that time, we talked also about statues and so on. The board was not interested in that for now, but something that could be added later. Whether conceptually they still feel those ideas should be put into place.
Did you mention like the star with the 5 points or the 5 branches?
Well, the big expense of it was that obelisk he had in the middle. Remember you had that one with that obelisk in his drawing,
Mhm.
whatever the name for that, that's the big, one of the biggest expenses. But I can get you that information, we can continue on. So,
Okay.
the next thing for the goal considerations, I sent you all a list. And I thought, clearly what we would do is start with the items and make sure there's the majority support. And some of the items won't have to be ranked, because they can handle unrelated, but then the items that have majority support, then we would try to rank and prioritize those items. That's kind of what we talked about, right? Does that kind of make sense for everyone? So does everybody have that list? I'll just mention them, is all you gotta do simply is, if we have majority support for pursuing in that direction, then we'll just mark that one off, and if there's not, someone will have an opportunity to speak to it, saying, hey, I think we should look at this, or, and for whatever reason, try to gain that support, so.
My only concern with doing it that way is it's kind of like, who loved your mother?
Everybody.
We all love our mother, right? So we're all gonna be in favor, but I think if we had a rank them as far as what's a higher, lower priority, or do I see this as a 12-month issue versus a 24-month or an
I
indefinite?
think you're exactly right, you know, who loves your mother this year, but who may not
Yeah.
5 years from now.
So if we could say, who wants to see this done in the next 18 months versus...
Yes.
There we go, we'll talk about
Proceed with it, and who say, yes, it's a good idea, but it can wait.
Because we all obviously think they're all important.
True. And several of them, you know, we've already kind of are working on, so it's just kind of reiterated some of the ones that we're already working on. So I'm going to go through the list, and the first category is...
Just, you know, I mean, I know in the past when we've done that in here, we'd actually written things on the board and we had to walk up, if you remember, and put our initials or numbers or whatever by color. Is this another form of doing that, or?
Well, if we get to that,
Yeah.
there's certain things, for example, if you look at the first one on the list, sell property, I think the board already voted unanimously to do that, and I'm assuming that's the continuation of the goal, so that doesn't need to be one on the list.
Okay.
So I'm trying to narrow the list down of where there may be some
Your objective is to get some off the list.
off the list, so that we have a smaller list to put on the board. So, does that work? And, because also I'm thinking there's 20 things there, and that's a lot of ranking to do when they don't have to.
So-
No, I'm just gonna mention it, and if I see four people supporting it,
Make it the framework of a year to 18 months to
Right.
get going on.
So when you come to things like property acquisition, you speak vaguely then about that, since we're in open session, is that?
well, you just simply that there's a goal to do something there.
Yeah,
Yes or no?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It'll be on all of them.
Okay.
So, and that's what we'll do the ranking. So then the first one is obviously sell the property, and I'm assuming the board's also still unanimous would like to see the Sumner Baldwin, Chicago Drive, and the KFC property that's sold. in the next 18 months. So that's on all. Then there's the next one is acquire some property, and you know we have the two areas of interest to fix the intersection of Cottonwood and Baldwin, and then to continue to work on different gateway options. So is that still?
I have just a question on the Cottonwood Baldwin. What is the role? I'm trying to define our role from the road commission's role.
We recognizing there's a problem, we want the intersection to be fixed in such a way that maybe would be beyond what the road commission would think is needed. I think we feel that's a bigger problem and want it to be addressed.
Do we know what the road commission feels is needed?
Well, they know what ideal is to do a left turn again through a street. It's ideal, but sometimes ideal is not always happen. So yes, we'd still be working with the road commission on a joint deal if we were to acquire those parcels with the road commission. Part of the issue they have is what do you do with the remainder? And if there's irreparable harm to the property, we can try to work something out with the road commission.
You had talked about 18 months. How does that apply to Cottonwood and Baldwin? I don't see, there's not scheduled to do anything there until 2018 at this point. So is that one of the goals that we have? I see it as a goal, but is it a goal that is more long range, or how would you define that? What do you guys think?
I think it's a goal, it's just the longer than 18-month goal, because we're at the mercy of the road committee when it comes to that. Now, I think they know, and I think they've heard us, if for some, miracle, the road funding gets reallocated and they decide, oh, we're gonna move this up to 2017, it's.
Well, there is a vote coming up, in May, that's greatly gonna enhance the revenue available for these kind of projects.
They've already enhanced the revenue with the millage vote we did have.
Yeah, this is a federal primary though, which, the state money can be applied to that as well if they increase that.
Yeah, I'd like to be on top of it.
Yeah, so,
Can we persuade the road commission to go for that then? I mean, because
well, they,
my concern is that it's so backed up.
just so you understand, it's us and 100 other.
Right, yeah.
So us buying some of this property issues, getting rid of the negatives, is only going to elevate the need. They're seeing where we can fix this because we don't have to deal with that big issue. And that big issue, I'm afraid, and this is what we talked about, it's going to come to 218, it won't be resolved, and that could take another year. If it, if it's not off the table, because there's significant acquisition that has to occur on top of it. So,
Now, the acquisition, that comes from them or us?
well, normally, once the road is made,
We pay for that, don't we?
well, we usually split the cost. So, cost is divided evenly, because most of the extra property is usually pedestrian nature, because the right-of-way is usually adequate to handle the roadway.
I just feel it's within that, in myself, I feel it's within that 18-month window, because this thing's gonna be on this.
Yeah, I think, there's a traffic problem there now, and then I look at like all the building that's going on the road by Eastbrook, and, we just approved a 12 lot, and
Right,
you
so I
figure
think-
every household has 2-3 cars. It's a nightmare, that was just.
No, we know it's a problem. The thing is it,
Yeah, I know.
do we want to address it in the next 18 months?
Yeah.
Is there support for that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. The next one, of course, is the senior center,
Yes.
so.
I'm opposed to that.
Oh, yeah. So, library expansion,
Now, I'd like to talk about this one,
okay?
because I'm in favor of a yes on this, but I think we have an immediate, within a year or so, we have not decided how many additional square feet we want for that. Now, are we thinking that if we say yes to this library expansion, that somewhere within the next 18 months, hopefully sooner, that we're gonna all decide on how many square feet? Because that makes a huge difference in terms of, at least from my perspective, it makes a huge difference. So how do the rest of you see that?
First, if you find out it's a goal.
Well, that's
you
what
have
I'm
to
saying.
establish what kind of goal it is. You have
But
to-
that's what I'm asking for the process. Let's say we all say yes. Okay, it's in the next 18 months. Well, does that mean that there will be library expansion within the next 18 months? Or does that mean we're going to start planning and have some kind of plan in place, knowing the additional square footage that we want to add? So I guess that's what I'm asking.
To me, it would be, we're going to implement a plan within 18 months. Now, if it's accomplished before that, that's fine. But we are going to say, if we say it needs expanded, we're just going to say yes, and we're going to fight over whether it's 2,000 or 20,000 or 200,000 over the next 18 months to come up with a decision.
What you could say is, it's a 2.5-year goal, and not for the 18 months, too.
Well, it'd be accomplished, the expansion may
Yeah.
not, but I'm
Right.
saying, what we're in place
Well,
to go.
I guess that's part of my question.
My thought too is that if we use part of the township, let's say the library thing here, we wouldn't have to be, we'd be expanding it, but we wouldn't be having to.
Well, that'd be expanding it, but we
Yeah,
say,
but it's not like we are adding on to it.
but to throw
What do you think?
the works was at senior center, I want to go back to the very same thing you just said. Where did we get the double? Where did that come from? That's what was in our
Talk
tentative
about the
plan.
doubles
Size.
in terms of the square footage.
Yeah. Where did that come
That
from?
came from the board out of this discussion, of
It
what
did?
they wanted to see as a drawing. The board asked what you wanted to see drawings for, of expanding the center, and what the cost would be for doing something similar. And the board said it come with 10,000 at that discussion.
Oh, okay.
So, that came from this group. I mean, it wasn't voted on, it was just what kind of drawings do you want me to bring back?
Okay.
Bring back.
Because I was laboring with that, and I said, well, what input did we get from, other than boards, from the seniors, or from the administration and the seniors? That may be plenty, I don't know. That just, okay, it came from the board.
So,
But I'm in favor.
so is it library expansion, is that one of the goals?
It's good.
Yes.
Work toward that, yes? Yes. I'm not putting any pressure on you.
Yes.
Okay, so you get to rank later. I kind of lumped together some different parks and paths, and maybe just to try to connect them together. One is a 22nd Avenue pathway, which is just a recent proposal with Hudsonville, and you haven't even voted on this yet, but it came on one of somebody's goals. It's to connect on 22nd Avenue from Van Buren into Jamestown, and then connect to Hudsonville. Hudsonville has a plan coming to go to Berry Street, wants to curl up down Van Buren to get to Jamestown's Trail in Quincy. And this would then connect it to our neighborhoods in the Van Buren 22nd Avenue, where we have Corey Estates and Georgetown Shores, where we already have several Victory Farms there, we already have several plants connected. We have the whole area there is a lot of residential, so we'll eventually get to our 44th Street Trail. So it's a joint plan with Hudsonville and Jamestown, and the idea is that we work together and get a grant to help fund hopefully a significant percentage of it. So
That's a yes.
you can tell right away who puts on the list, that helps, you know.
Yeah. Yes, but I'm thinking down Van Buren there, you've got culverts and the water table's really high. It's almost like we'd have to have an elevated pathway through some of that section.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, and all these trails are never easy. It's just whether you want to see that kind of go. Yeah, the hope is, you know, we have two of them on here that are multi-jurisdictional,
Right.
kind of working together as communities, and hopefully that will help with grant support when you're working with three different communities and trying to connect trails together.
With each of these, which we received by email on Friday, I just confess I have not gone since then to look at each of the proposed trail sites. I think walkability and connectability and so on is important. I guess I can't speak necessarily to what we could afford to do and how soon with these. It's kind of like you said, Chad. I mean, you're going to appreciate the goal.
Right.
And I don't see how you wouldn't appreciate it. The only question is timing this project.
Well, the timing will take time just because the grant process will take time and working with three other communities. The idea is that you could bike from Georgetown, another route down Van Buren to get into Jamestown, which eventually is going all the way to Holland, and then anywhere to Hudsonville. So, I mean, that's the goal to do so.
Grants generally take a couple of years, don't they?
Yeah, you have to get on the list. You keep getting ranked, but it could go quicker, but it's likely.
Is this part of that Hudsonville, Jamestown, Jackson, Berry, Kennewa, all that? I mean, is this part of that? Is this separate?
Yes, Kennewa would be the other side.
Yeah.
Then you have a loop that you could go all the way around Georgetown's 44th, eventually going up to 22nd, down through Quincy, and then Greenlee and Quincy, I'm not sure which one it is at which point, and then up into Georgetown at Kennewa, coming all the way back to the same trail.
Except that is not part of this. It wouldn't be part of this plan, because Jamestown is not too eager to link Kennewa along Kennewa to us.
Jamestown has agreed if a grant is there. So,
But that's not part of this.
No, that's not part of this, because that's already working on the Mantegna grant. The board's already supported for that.
Okay.
And that the board supported that if we get a grant, then we'll participate for the Kennewa one. So this one here is not been voted on yet. It's basically making a square around that whole area, so.
Same idea though?
Same idea.
Subject to approval of the grant.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you have Hudsonville in it instead of Wyoming
I see.
and Byron. So Hudsonville, and it also would connect into Hudsonville on the Berry Street. So yes, do I hear yeses?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one, actually, we just had service committee, and that's the Maplewood Park Trail.
We talked about pursuing a grant for that.
Yeah, that's what they're doing for us, so yes. So you see, these are the kind of things I don't think have to be ranked so much. We're seeking grants, it's going to take time. The Veterans Plaza, I'm assuming still yes for everyone. Rosewood Park Development,
Yes.
We're going down that road.
okay. The next one is a Rush Creek Trail, and that's we talked about getting into from 40th and Port Sheldon, where the sidewalks stop, to go down Port Sheldon, and then to connect into Rush Creek Park along the impoundment area, to cross over the impoundment dam, and to develop a trail to connect into Rush Creek Park so that you can have Sunningdale getting into the park, neighborhoods to the south, you know, the whole area all the way to Unity Christian, all the way north into Georgetown Forest, and able to have a connection there through that neighborhood. So it's a nice opportunity to open up Rush Creek Park.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. Support.
Do you have a question?
Well, it just goes back to again the point of, I don't see how any of these would not be desirable.
Okay,
But-
so,
To me, that one
You're
doesn't,
right.
that doesn't get up to the
18.
18 month.
No, it doesn't.
it doesn't really
No,
fit.
It's
doesn't.
It's a nice someday.
Was that, just refresh my memory, in our park plan, was in the chart of projects
This is
through
one of the
2020, this was part of it, wasn't it?
yes.
And that fell in there. I don't remember exactly what
The
year.
2020 seems like a good time.
Okay.
I think it went up to 2022, but I don't know where this one fell specifically.
Well, one of the goals was to get from east to west of the township.
Right. So I think,
Right now we go down 40th and Port Sheldon, this was to keep extending and
Right.
connecting to Rush Creek Park. and
because this has been
40th.
talked about for a few, well, even before that.
Yeah, I want to get a connection to the park, at least to those neighbors.
But it's probably not an 18-month, but it's,
So, we'll leave it on the list, but,
Someday.
yeah. Another place down there is making Maplewood Park swimming, kind of opening it up to swimming and whatever it takes there to make that happen, I think is kind of what it was mentioned, so.
That came off my list, because that has been, is looking promising now. It's a very popular thing, and if we would have to reconstitute the beaches, all I know,
To me, it's not an 18 month. I'd like to monitor another year.
Sure.
See if we have water quality issues.
Maybe watch the water quality.
Okay. Now, the next item, is that same, Rich? Are you on the same?
yeah, that's fine.
I actually, there's two Rush Creek trails. I did the second one here. This Rush Creek Trail is the trail coming from 8th Avenue Park, that we talked about to try to get past the Kmart. So one is the Park Trail, and I wrote down there, the other Rush Creek Trail is 8th Avenue. So
Say it again. 8th Avenue from.
8th Avenue to the Kmart section
Mhm.
along Rush Creek.
Mhm.
There's two proposed Rush Creek area, Rush Creek Park and Rush Creek. So,
And that goes back to old discussions, doesn't it?
yeah, we talked about trying to get there along the Dave Merrick property and then
Right.
to the Kmart property we now own. So
Right.
That also would probably be Grand Elsewhere.
I would think so, especially if we had a connecting route, where we did that end kept going on as part of the connecting route,
Let's
yeah.
consider connecting with
They don't like to find that end, so you gotta have a connecting route.
if we were to develop behind the old Kmart site, is that considered connecting?
We wanna, end up doing is at least getting into the sidewalks there that are like by McDonald's at a minimum, you can say they at least have pedestrian paths to keep going, just stop.
So that would be a grant type thing, like the,
It's your choice, what you could look for a grant. And depending on what you do, you could do, that would be quite a significant grant if you did a linear parking.
That'd be a big costly project.
So is that as soon as possible, or is that we can still do it for ranking later, you don't have to finish the ranking yet.
I'm in favor of it, but I do have a question.
Okay?
Sometime back, Jim Holtfloor, when he was at one of our board meetings, made a comment about there's a berm that runs back there.
He
What
made a
was he
comment
talking
that
about?
He made a comment that we own the property. And we don't own the property, but we have a drain easement. When they designed the drain,
Okay,
the drain was designed in such a way to accommodate a trail.
okay.
So if you picture the creek, so and the normal creek goes like this, right? You have the water run through it.
Mhm.
When they did this creek for overflow, to fill the bank, they did is they took the creek differently and they made a V and they made a shell. So during the peak spring times, the thing still floods just like this one. It's a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But the idea is during the rest of the year, only this gets water.
I got you.
And this area here below the bank, above the creek bed, was designed to put a trail on that spot.
So that's what he was talking.
That's what he's talking about. But then he said we owned it, and that's the part that it went too far, because we own the Kmart stop, but we don't own the rest. But there's this shelf, we talked about the shelf, that's where we could put a trail, and it doesn't use any developable property because it's in the floodway. So every spring, the trail would be flooded for 2 weeks, you know, and then
Okay,
it would restore, you'd have to, you know, brush it off and then start using it, but it doesn't use developable land that way, so.
okay.
So you have the regular creek down here.
But the trail could go right under Cottonwood Bridge and then connect with our property and then go under the next bridge. But it would be awful close when you got to Chicago Drive. It's walkable, but
Did you
I walked it,
that
there's
area,
some pictures,
didn't you?
yeah.
There's issues with bike height that you have to be careful with.
Right.
So there's a minimum bike height. I don't know what it is, and that's where you looked at it, so.
You can hunch over and walk on it.
Okay, so.
You could ride a bike.
I ride a bike, so.
Go walk it.
You didn't do well. So,
I'm a yes.
yes? Okay. Another item was discussed is updating our signage, particularly at our parks and at this office is here, so
Making the motion, I guess,
Yeah.
we will continue.
continue that project, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and in that, as I mentioned, would be a certain parks issue, but I also feel very wanton on directional signs to our parks.
Okay.
Very, very.
Additional signage needed to get to the location.
Yeah, just Maplewood Park on Baldwin Arrow down Blueberry.
So we can bring it up to services or.
Yeah.
The next one that came up on the list was WCET funding, and we're going to do a survey to evaluate their funding, and that was down there, something we think about.
The WCET board addressed this 6 months ago, and nothing's really come of it yet.
It seemed to me the general consensus of the board was if it's done in one community, it should be done in all
Yes.
communities at the same time.
It was, and
And there seemed to be general support for it, but it was kind of who's gonna take the lead on it.
yeah, and I've been contemplating, and I think people take the lead would probably be the two managers and superintendent to get together, at least to create the survey. We were talking about a survey, to create the survey.
Yeah, just a community survey.
Yeah, for the 3 communities. And then, which shouldn't be hard to accomplish, and then after the survey, then we have some dialogue and discussion.
Okay. Your support for that from the board, to see that?
The fact of the survey would be, you know, dictating a certain outcome or just evidence of what you may want to consider.
I think it doesn't have to be restricted to funding per se, as much as how does the community view it? Are they getting the content they would desire, you know, and it's kind of that discussion, you know, we've had some who would say, well, gosh, there's a lot more revenue coming in from cable, you should give all that to WCET, which we can certainly do. It would just mean we have to stop funding other things in order to do that. So is that what the community in fact wants to happen? Or are they happy with the content as it currently is? Or are they not happy with the content at all? So I think that's the general gist of what we would be looking for. If we're looking for something different, you know, create that opportunity on the survey for people to give us feedback in some regards. I think generally what we hear from people is the people that watch it, use it, really enjoy it. But I don't know that we have solid numbers to quantify how many folks that is. You know, we can, now I can tell us we're gonna do a tag how many people are streaming online, we just can't tell how many are watching that typical cable TV.
I'd like to see this done as a partnership with WCET to help them enhance their programming. I'm afraid that if they're not involved, it's going to be taken as a negative. I think they provide a very good service. I'd like to see them involved.
In what way?
I think when you're designing the survey, that they should be involved in that.
I think they've got a good input into the questions that you asked on the survey. I want to make sure that the survey wasn't biased anyway. You know, that it wasn't biased against them, that it wasn't biased in their favor. You don't want to go and ask people, you know, you don't want to answer the questions, do you love your mother? Sure. That's all the answer.
Yeah,
They'll come back 97%
There is
probably.
a disconnect between the cable bill though, that people pay and the service that they're receiving. Very few people have the connection to see that separate line on their cable bill and realize that paying for that channel.
It is a service, and I think what I'm after with the survey is to see how much is the service being utilized? And is that a wise expenditure of 3 units for that service?
Right. Yeah, and the extension we're doing is, you know, we're just giving them the fee that's on the bill, so it's not even a first time revenue for the existing funds.
In the discussion that the WCET board had, when they talked about this survey, was any consideration given to hiring a professional firm to do this?
I don't know that we rose to that level of discussion.
I would, my suggestion would be, if it does, as you continue to discuss this, that you consider that as a possibility,
Yeah, I
just to
think-
see.
It seems to me Hudsonville could use a firm to do
They
the
did,
survey.
they did. That's about 5, 6, I don't know, a number of years ago, they used a professional.
Yeah.
But I would recommend that personally.
I mean, personal opinion is it's probably worth following that phone, but I would think that it's something that we should have and talk with Patrick.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
for that.
Recommendation from the...
I'm just saying it would
Yeah,
be
you might
something that
follow up with
they...
them now, and they go, no, we decided we don't want to do this at all.
Sure, I
Or
understand.
they go, yeah, we've been investigating, we've got a tool.
Mhm.
But if nobody's got anything, I would agree, it's probably easier to have somebody else do it, though, but you get into the whole cost discussion.
Well, yeah, it's not, that would not be inexpensive, I don't believe.
Because if you really want to do it in an unbiased way, you should really only sample cable users, right?
That's typically what they would say.
But only because only people who are streaming watch.
Correct. And they're the ones paying for it.
Yeah, they would
Paying for it, they're
certainly
watching
It's
it.
streaming, it's
So-
not streaming outside town.
You don't want a survey company to call 2,000 people that don't watch cable.
Exactly.
Get their input.
Mhm.
There's some people that don't have it.
Oh, yeah.
And lots of additional.
Dan, what is the law requiring of WCET
Some of my kids don't.
What is the law require?
as far as this money's going to the cable bill? We still have to provide some services, correct?
Well, the law says you have to provide the ability for public access. If you could do that in a lot of different ways, we could join different methods and not have a 3 community, you could go with a 30 community and buy 1 hour a year and give them $10. You know, I mean, and they would hear their channel here. I mean, just saying, I'm making these numbers up, but you could do something very simple. And then right now, you're basically paying 1% of your cable bill is paying for this channel. So that 1% of the bill that would go down. That revenue that would come to us, but it would go down if we were to have, if we were to give them more money, then it would come from the general fund coffers of the township.
Right.
Right now, we're giving them exactly what's collected on the peg fee on the bill, it's going to down. So it really has no financial impact over hourly. We could do more, but if we were to do less, it would lower the people's cable bill.
So the effect on taxpayers is minimal, but it's the
Cable
cable users we're
Right.
talking about, the taxpayers.
$3 to $5 a month, I think, someplace in
I would
that.
guess it's like $2.
The peg fee just went up. At least for my...
There's a peg fee and there's a franchise fee too.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, the peg fee, is like a couple
$2 to $3 is what I was thinking was.
The
So-
franchise fee is 5%.
Right, so you have those separate fees, but that $2 to $3 charge, they're paying for this channel. And, so, that area, so, like London, for example, if they get the channel, they're not subscribing, they're not paying. You know, Jamestown, same thing, they're getting the channel, they're not paying. We didn't used to have a channel, we used to go with Wyoming, we were partnered with Wyoming before we started this one. So, and at that time, we paid $5,000, now it's like $95,000. But if each subscriber pays whatever it is, it's $2 or $3. The next one on the list is customer service improvements, and that's really not obviously something that I vote on, because I think we all want to see customer service improvement. If we're working toward that in certain areas that we talked about. So, the next one is, I kind of combine these, but one person basically put down, I think, a marketing person, and another actively recruit a sit-down restaurant, because I kind of felt this was a way to work together. But, any discussion on that?
Is that a part of the job description for our assistant or not?
Well,
Do some
marketing is not the key part. Customer service was the key in handling some of the other items, but yes, doing some marketing in addition is part of that. But someone still put down a part-time kind of marketing person to help recruit business in the area. And I think someone else put down actively recruit a sit-down restaurant. So it's just the kind of, I mean, putting there for discussion, it's hard to kind of title it there, because it's really not necessarily a huge goal compared to like the senior center.
I don't want to mention the restaurant, I mentioned marketing person thinking like 10 to 15 hours a week. Somebody in the mold of Joni works with the chamber. And that mold, that idea, that kind of person, that kind of personality, sort of roll out the red carpet. Those interested in the township, especially now as college begins to speak to various potential buyers and they begin to investigate us and see what they think of us, they'll check the city out as well as the township. And to cultivate a good relationship with the businesses that already exist. You're more of a marketer guy than I am, John, and maybe you mentioned it too, but that was what I had in mind.
I like that idea, but much is with this new position that's opening up, that could be, depending on the person we have, they'll be meeting those same individuals.
At first, certainly we could try it that way if you
But
want.
if we find that that's not being effective, I would very much, I like Jim's idea.
So you want to wait a couple months to see what happens on that?
What's the role of the Chamber of Commerce?
Your organization to represent the business in the area.
That's part of it, because I think I read their constitution, or whatever you want to call it.
Mission
That's also-
statement.
Yeah, mission statement. That's also their, part of their mission statement is to attract businesses. Yeah, luncheons and breakfasts and so on. Now, I don't know how active they are. You had a little more contacts with the chamber than I have.
There've been a lot of new businesses just within the last year and a half that have joined the
Yes.
chamber.
Yes.
And they do that obviously for networking purposes, to get their name out there and that type of thing. But just last week, Friday, they talked about some of these new businesses and some of the ventures. And there are several new businesses in the area, not just Granville, but Jennison as well. So
Are they actively engaged in promoting?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
They are. They're one of the most dynamic I've ever seen in my life. I would say you will find other communities that are going to be
Tell me
looking at our people and looking at taking them on.
Tell me some of the businesses that they brought in.
Well, do they go out and recruit businesses? But when they come here, do they welcome them and then get them contacts? They're fantastic at doing that.
That's what I thought that was one of their missions, so was to recruit businesses to the community. But I mean,
Yeah, I can't speak to that. All I know is you talked about the new businesses that have
yeah, they're
joined the chamber within the last year and a half.
yeah, and one new business, yeah.
And the networking piece is very important.
I think they're over 500 now.
in that ballpark.
Some of weren't, weren't they?
Yeah, they didn't, they weren't, yeah.
All
that's
of
right.
those, all the uptown development, everyone's bringing a lot of.
Oh, yes.
Members for that, so
Yeah,
it's
huge, yeah.
Okay, I just want to sound that more knowledge about that.
Combining with Jennison was very, very smart, and it's a blessing for us. When they have a meeting, they're able to draw a much, much larger crowd. And I think much more networking is taking place because of that.
So, are we holding on this? Is anyone here? I'm not really quite sure as far as a marketing person. Nobody told our
Holding
manager.
manager, giving the manager
Yeah,
a role.
Okay.
How long?
Assuming to the next goal session, they're supposed to fix it up.
Okay.
The next item was brought up was developing a complete streets plan.
Yes, and again, I say yes.
You want to think about that?
I do not.
I support that.
My personal opinion is, I don't mind doing some investigation. I think there's higher priority things to put resources towards. So myself, I wouldn't want to put resources towards it in the next 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I can live with that, but I think if we, in order to try to get any kind of funding, we have to have a plan.
We want a plan in place, for example, that would include streets like, streets 36 gets redone, that would be done at a time. We're not like just changing the world out there, we're changing streets as they develop. Is that kind of interest, or you're not interested at all?
I would be more interested as they're proposed.
Okay, but you need a plan in place for that, That's what I'm wondering where you're.
Well, in an ideal world, yes, except if the streets all got completed in a continuous way, I go, that makes sense, because we're just gonna keep extending the trail, but I don't want to end up with something where you go, we've got 15 separate 1 mile sections of complete streets. Something along those lines, over time. I'd rather see- Right.
It's like, ideally, you can connect the sidewalks right away to complete streets, so you have some. So,
Oh, it's a big yes.
big yes?
And I see this as a 5-year
Okay, yes.
plan.
I feel what Jen is.
So, develop the plan? I'm kind of torn, develop the plan, but wait, as needed, or?
I don't know what it takes to develop a plan. I guess I'm really looking for Rich or somebody who's really passionate about this to do the legwork and work with me to come back and go, hey, if you come back and go, we just identified it's, in our community, it's Baldwin and 36th Avenue.
Based on previous board discussion, we've already asked for a quote, find out what it would cost to develop a plan, to help us develop and work through that process.
Okay.
So we're gonna get that quote, sure, in the next week or two.
I'm fine with you bringing that back to us for
Yeah.
consideration, but
Project kind of thing.
And I think
if
then
you
we'll
come and go, I
we'll
want
all
to
be
put $1
so
million
happy.
next year's budget for roads, I'm gonna go, no, I'd rather like to see that money in the parks.
Yeah, I don't see
center.
that happening.
Okay.
But I see that if we have a plan we can look at, and at least give us a little more direction.
Okay, is that,
I'm gonna wait.
wait, wait?
Until the quote.
For the quote.
Yes,
so
yes.
cool.
So. The next item brought up was the future for the ice arena. Someone had that on the list, if they'd like to see
What does
it.
that mean?
Well, you can ask it.
I threw it on there because I just wanted to see if there was anything that could be done to more actively sow seeds for future potential with GDSU. That it not get lost, but that if there was some way to actively begin to court them. And maybe it takes 2 or 3 years, but at a time, they seem to like the buyer. So I know we talked about that before. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there to keep it on our radars. I don't know any specifics as to how that would happen, whether.
I could see, I see where you're going with the ice arena. I could see that evolving to just a greater discussion of the relationship with GVSU as related, and we're about later tonight to meet with the planning commission and zoning board. talk master planning, and I don't know that we've had formal input from GBSU on what their intentions are in that corner of the township. I do know they have publicly stated all of their growth will happen south of that campus versus jumping north of Lake Michigan Drive, but I don't know how or what that means.
Say I every parcel that's for sale, which means Gilmore and, so every parcel that comes for sale, they're buying all scattered all over the place.
It doesn't surprise me at all. So the county is talked about, and the county is putting money into a big park off 42nd. You know, they're putting, I think we just saw an article in the advance that they're gonna escalate that. GVSU has talked about trails on their campus connecting to county trails. And I think we've talked about, well, it'd be nice someday if they connected into township trails then too. But I think this discussion could evolve into whether it's their facilities or folks and just, hey, you tell us what you're doing. And that might influence what we decide to do, looking at trails, roads, complete streets, water, sewer, parking, whatever it is.
I had it on my list too. I don't know what the future, I thought, nothing's going to happen with Grand Valley until they have a team, a recognized hockey team. Nothing like right now, the hockey club, they do not have a team. I think the groundwork changes dramatically when they have a recognized team that they have a system to play. Until that, I don't think there's a lot of interest in Grand Valley as long as it's just a club. Do I think it'll evolve into a team? Yeah, I think it'll evolve. That's usually the way it happens in high school too. You start off with a club, gets enough support, and it develops into a team, and then the school takes responsibility for all the costs of the team. But I thought they had a team. I was surprised. And I don't know if you told me or somebody told me. It's just a club. It's not a team.
That's a town line issue where they're just waiting for it, women's
I
sports.
believe so. There is a women's sports, they have women's hockey.
Yeah, I'd like to see us,
club.
That'd be a club.
Okay.
but I'd like to see us, definitely, I agree with Chad. We should have a partnership with them. There are many, many issues between Georgetown and the college, the university that should be discussed. But they could be using our facility to teach classes. There's so much potential there. I think planting those seeds, getting some of the athletic department interested in that, it would give some use to the facility during the day. And the more use we have by college students finding the facility, utilizing it, I think it would be used more outside of just hockey. I think it would just be a smart move. We should be talking about it.
That's something the new assistant manager could have on their radar to begin to make inroads.
So those are really unrelated.
No.
I mean, they're not the same direction.
So whenever I hear that, I think, okay, who's going to do that?
No,
We'll all return to our day jobs.
I'm not, I mean, what you were talking about in the future of the partnership is different than what he's talking about in the future of the partnership. You're talking about, you know, the main users becoming the operator, right? If you're the biggest user of it, then they can be the operator of it. You're talking about just an opportunity to grow our user base.
Well,
right?
it's a double bonus.
Yeah.
This way we're making money, they're being exposed to it. I have mixed emotions whether we should sell or won't be involved in that. But at least if they've had exposure to it, it gets on their radar, we're much more likely to have them. They need a reason to buy it. They have classes already being taught there. Originally, before the ice rink was built and the ice hockey club, I went out and talked to some of the officials at Grand Valley, and they were excited, but they said because of Title IX, they just did not see that happening. The concern was, if this was built by Georgetown Township, would you then be building your own ice rink someday? They could just not see that happening for at least 15 years, and their big concern was Title IX. That dramatically affected education.
I think they could solve it by making the women's team official as well and just offset them.
How about at least we reach out, you know, the three of us are here, and Dan is here every day. Reach out and probably start, I don't know, we start with meeting athletic director or so on, at least talk to them, say these are some of our concerns. Do you have plans? Do you have future plans for it? At least have a contact.
That'd be powerful.
Maybe that's
They
something
would.
our assistant can do too.
And set up at least
Yes,
a
it's
meeting.
just what you need to have a Monday, what you're trying to accomplish.
I want to know what is your future plans for this? You think your club will become a team? What would be your response if Georgetown no longer owned that ice rink? What's your response? Would you be in there? Would you be interested in purchasing that ice rink for your school, as part of your school, and so on? I think just start, so they know some of our interests, we maybe know some of their interests and concerns, and then see if anything.
Talk about our parks plans and grants we're planning to pursue, or we're gonna talk about how we're addressing customer service in the community, or whatever it
I think that's what we've kind of done before.
Yeah.
There would be a format.
What were you thinking of all the meeting at the seniors?
You know, I wouldn't think beyond.
We did it
I'm the one that
in
put that down.
2011.
That could be a special type of deal, like understanding, sorry.
That was for the seniors,
Yeah,
wasn't
we
it?
got it in 2011, yeah, but we
If-
could do that again. That was
If you
like
have
the
a
first
specific topic such as seniors, then it would make sense to do it at the senior center. Or if you had a specific topic, perhaps like library, you might want to do it at the library or whatever. But my sense of this is, and I'm not opposed to it, but I think it has to be purposeful, and we need to know. I agree with what Chad said and some of the rest of you what you said. I think that makes it so that there's some direction. Whenever this subject does come up, and we've discussed this in the past, obviously this is a great opportunity for citizens to give input. So part of it would be, even though it is purposeful, you would have a section of that, it seems to me, for just like general comments that people could make, or suggestions or ideas that they could bring to the board, but also have some direction.
Yeah, there'd have to be a structure so that one person doesn't control the whole town hall.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and structure would be established, and some ground rules of know on the floor. But I guess the concept is, are there people around this table that say, yes, I'd like to do that, or no, don't think that's necessary?
I would like to see a presentation tied in PowerPoint showing, as Rich had mentioned, maybe accomplished today, or where we're heading at that particular time, so people have a framework to build on.
Yeah, there's, the only danger is that, I envision a town hall meeting is you come and you express what your concern is, whether it's chickens or pigs or whatever have, rather than say, well, no, that wasn't on our agenda, we don't want to talk about that, this is an opportunity. You say what you want to say.
I agree with it. If you had,
And
say,
we'll
15
do the
minutes or
best
20
answer.
minute introduction.
As opposed to a topic structure.
I think the best way to go with this, it seems to me, is to try one. Let's see what we learn from it and how we can improve upon it for when we do the next one.
Personally, I think, I don't like the idea of a third Monday each month being tied up. I think it would cost money to the township to have us all come for another meeting. Rather see it be on every other Monday, one of our 2 meetings in a month, immediately after, for a set period of time, unless I misheard you. Did you suggest that? I said,
We could do that because there are some of the regular Mondays that there is not enough items that superintendent and I usually confer and say, oh man, I don't think, unless it's a pressing, financial matter that has to be taken care of, we have to meet at least once a month. That's the law. But otherwise, there are some that say, Dan, this isn't worth the time or the money that it's cost the township to go in, and so let's cancel that meeting of the month. One of those could be reserved. Sometimes we don't know though until late.
We can try it. And the only thing is you've got to pick your meeting enough to tell the people when it is, which
Yes.
is what we know.
Yes, we probably want at least a couple weeks of notice.
It's worth a try, though.
I'd finish my comment, which is I want to see it held on Monday evening when we wouldn't have another subcommittee meeting afterward. I want to see it restricted in terms of the period of time, and at that point, if people want to stay, talk further they can, but we won't feel rude or be seen in the wrong way if we should leave at that appointed time. I don't mind a little more free-flowing, what's on your mind kind of a thing. I don't think that WCET should televise that, otherwise we're an invitation to grandstand and speak to the public in that fashion. I don't think that would be, I think you're looking at that point for a free flow of discussion without people playing the cameras or any of that kind of thing. It's just what's on your mind. If you got something in particular you just want a quick question and answer to, we'll do our best, rather than sometimes the way they feel when they address the board and sit down and we don't say anything of it. And it's going to be, democracy and that, on those lines is probably a little messy. I think those would be kind of messy, and that's okay.
That's all right. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's where it would be a pretty free-flowing dialogue, and but there would be a period of time. There ought to be some rules in terms of, as you say, people not being able to dominate and take all the time, but there ought to be a beginning and an end. And if people want to stay longer, that's up to them. And I wouldn't want to have to come back again and carve out another Monday night each month.
So we'll just try.
That'd be part of the ground rules that I think the 3 to 4 of us can set up.
We'll just try one and we'll see how it goes. If we don't like the flow of that, we'll change it. If we do, if it work for people, we'll
And
do another one.
answer the questions back. Some we maybe won't be able to answer.
Okay.
And say, hey, we have to look that up and get to you later.
So is that the consensus there?
Okay.
So, okay?
Give it a try.
Let's try it.
And we'll let you, people know what suggested format we have beforehand, and certainly relish your input.
And if you have a light agenda, which you can always say like 7:30 to 8, do the agenda items, and from 8 to 8:45 or whatever time frame that you would have, and have dialogue and structured however. Try it.
The next item on the list was Chicago Drive landscaping, and project that we kind of put on hold or postponed it, and what the determination is, was that project. So,
I'd like to see it move forward. I don't think we'd ever formally decided. I know we'd said not the Cadillac plan, but I think we'd said not the Chevette either, and we kind of left it blank. And so some of these all involve some specifics. I guess it remains to be a little unclear as to exactly what extent those landscaping plans would include, but if this is a question of a vote to do something there along the lines of what we last discussed, having removed certain elements, that's what I think it would have been.
right now, the contractor, is agreed to hold the bid for this year if he wants to do so. We just postponed it. The question is, at some point, we need to release that, it needs to be soon, or we won't hold it. So the question is, do you want to pursue this in 2015 with the current term first? And then if not, if so, then kind of after,
That was the top of the line, wasn't it?
with things removed, we're just thinking.
Have we removed some walls?
Yeah.
I initially had questions about it, but then when our plan went into effect, or our tentative plan to create a township structure down there, then I certainly signed on to it, because to me it was it became a part and parcel of that plan, really. Now that that plan has dissipated, I'm back off order and say, no,
Let me address that. You haven't built what you had hoped to build there, but you're doing something else on the other side of the street, now your Veterans Memorial and the like, which is right in that area. And I guess secondarily, if we're talking about marketing that property here, and we're debating about whether to spend this money, we may recoup 50% or more of this money just in the enhancement of the curb appeal of that area. And they, much like we said with KFC, hey, if he'll invest, X hundreds of thousands of dollars, we're open to selling him that site. Kind of the same concept. Someone could come in and say, if you're willing to invest that kind of money in this corridor of your township, I'm on for a better offer for that property than I would have otherwise made to Colliers. We'll never know, because they won't say, well, mentally I thought this or I imagined that, but I think it's fair enough to say, and Ron would know more because he's a commercial realtor, but curb appeal, investment in the infrastructure and the landscape and so on, to me, would enhance the price and could pay for itself in part, if not in whole.
Maybe on that.
Probably closer to Dale, but I never started out as the one who drove on calling that project. If there was a good, strong development that bought 200 Chicago Drive and were to go to Veterans Memorial down there, I'd probably be more leaning towards doing it than not. But right now, I'm not probably in my 18th.
I lean towards doing something down there, at least talking about it. You have the drainage ditches, it's open air drainage ditches. I certainly would like to see it walkable.
I know the drainage ditches is part of the chapter 20 drain board. We're going to meet in a couple of weeks with the chapter 20 drain board to see what it'll take to close those. It just takes a long time for the county to get that meeting scheduled, so.
I would sure like to see a sidewalk there that is walkable. But I do agree with Jim on, I think it would enhance our downtown area. To what extent, I'm not sure. But I do think it would make it more.
See if I can see us do a project that goes kind of.
I'm not sure I'd go fully with that project.
Okay.
Question for you would be to what extent, not right, to be the extent of the improvements.
It would not be to the extent that we talked about previously.
Right,
I would
but I
like
mean,
to see something.
right, okay, so it'd be something along the lines, but just not the same as what had last been approved.
I'd probably be able to support that.
Yeah. And Ron, if he were here, I think would say it's probably his number one. I'm only
Right.
guessing.
Mhm.
Probably his number one.
Yeah.
So somebody,
No doubt about it.
somebody Justice Kennedy in here. And I don't know if it's Chad or on YouTube, but anyways, we haven't given you a chance to speak to that.
For me, I would wait 18 months, past 18.
So, okay. Rich?
Well, I feel a lot like Dale does. It just seemed to make a lot of sense at the time. But that being said, I like the looks of what he drew, and I can envision how that could enhance that area, but I'm reluctant to think in terms of spending that amount of money at this point. What would ideal for me would be to have someone want a Kmart property, and it would be a purchaser that we really wanted to have there. And then to say, we've had this plan for beautification along Chicago Drive. Now it makes sense to do it. And maybe that's too idealistic, but that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I could get on board with John's idea of scaling it back some. I guess I wonder, Chad, with what you said earlier, you said if it were a matter of the Veterans Memorial and the buyer for 200 Chicago Drive, maybe feel differently. Well, we've more or less, I think, there's been the votes to put the Veterans Memorial there, so that's kind of one out of the two already. To me, that's not, it doesn't sound if as much as when. And the 200 Baldwin is now listed for sale or is in the process of being, so there will be a buyer there. And then the question is it backward to say, well, let's wait till somebody buys it and then let's enhance their property value? Or do we enhance our property value before they purchase? Because you know both of your contingencies will be satisfied. One maybe already is in the process of being satisfied, the other's just beginning. And are you better off with that reversing the order?
Would we get more money for the property? And we've already had an offer on the property. So there is interest, but might we be able to entice, the company would be very proud to have down there.
I guess in my mind, it's still one of the goals on my list. I just, as some of this shakes out, and I don't mind if it stays on for some prioritization. I'm just not gonna prioritize it as high as I am things like senior center and that kind of stuff.
So I guess my first question is then, do we cancel the contract? We never approved it, so I just want it to be pending anymore. Are we able to move from postpone to not approve the contract?
Maybe we need to go through the priority exercise first, because in my mind, I've gotta see, where all these things are and kind of where we are resource-wise, because
So it's still good to do. Yeah. And then the last one on the list was pave Jackson Street.
is that even, are we being compassionate to everyone over there?
There's two, there was five, it's on 4, 3, now I think it's, apparently one's come around, but they haven't signed anything yet, but that would be down to 2.
Yeah. To me, we've had money in the roads plan for that for years and years and years. We've just never been able to
Well,
do
2 years
it.
ago, we pulled that out, just so you know. 2 years
Well,
ago, it came out.
Because we didn't feel like we were gonna get.
Right, because now the project was no longer good in there, so. But, yeah, I guess the question is, you could compel that, just at a certain point, if you had to, but just not more money on the street. Is that what you're looking or talking about, or? I know you want-
Yeah, I just had someone approach me again about it, saying they were down from 3 to 2, and it's the
Yeah.
last non-paved through street in the township. So I thought,
Email, about one more street, wasn't it this street?
Well, that would be right.
That was a-
discussion, you know.
and that was a dead end. right?
That's a dead end
Yeah,
street.
that's different. This
I
is-
talked to that person and told him that we, in the past, it's been 50/50.
Yeah,
Property owners pay 50, he already lost interest in that.
yeah.
It's a great idea until you ask me to pay.
Right, yeah.
Sure.
And I think we at one time offered a split of what, 70-30 or something with Jackson, I don't remember.
That was to raise money to get down the property, that's not.
Oh, right, okay, yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, it's another one of those.
Same cost to the taxpayer, but lower cost to.
It's not a this year thing, it's one of those things I think that gotta keep on the radar out there.
If all the homeowners along are on board, I'm on board.
Right. And you know, the one that's gonna most trouble is not Georgetown,
Right.
not even Michigan, but for that matter, but the property is not in Georgetown.
Texas, I think, right?
Yeah, so they live in Texas
Yeah.
and, don't care.
I walk that road quite a bit, and I've talked to the homeowners along there.
Okay.
It's pretty dangerous. I think the road commission does a fine job with maintaining what they have. It's very, very hilly. I would assume that they're gonna have to take the tops of some of those hills out, right?
If they would do it, yes, the tops would go out, the bottoms get filled in.
What is the cost to the taxpayer, the person that lives on those streets?
Well, the cost is $1 million probably for the project. The question is, how much do you allocate to residents? In the past, we were trying to get the streets done, that's a priority of the township. And, so, the dead end streets, we were 50/50 cost share.
Yeah.
And then other kind of things, because of the property owners not cooperating, and kind of like said, hey, if you can't get your neighbors to agree and sign off, we're not gonna do it until that happens. But we proposed no cost share if they all signed off to agree right away.
I talked to Mr., I think his name is Tom Thompson. He's a teacher at Hudsonville for years. And he was going to try to organize the neighbors in that area and go door to door. There are a few that are very outspoken against it, with just a couple. But they're very outspoken against it. I think the majority wants it by far.
Well, I got signatures.
Did they submit it? They've done the door to door.
I have signed agreements with all but 4. I've met with all but 4, well, I met with all property owners. But I have signed agreements by all but 4. that are at least 10 years old now, I guess.
Okay.
And they
They
came
probably
to
don't
the,
remember they've already signed the
I
property.
recommended to him that he again go door to door. And I said, if you come to our board and you have everyone signed now, I said, I can't see how much.
The thing is the one they don't have, is I explained to each new person who comes on, is the person who lives in Texas. And, and then, you know, they get the same people who already agreed, but they need to get the 3 who haven't.
didn't we have a group of the residents come to our utilities committee meeting like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, we did have someone come in before.
We had,
And that's when we came up with that idea, well, if they could get a petition from the neighbors
Right.
to pay 30%,
Right.
we would then come down to the remainder.
yeah.
And use that money to pay for it, but we weren't gonna increase our share because the property owners didn't cooperate on the road fee. So that's kind of where we got stuck at that point.
Hold on, I think it was Randall teacher.
Yes, it is. Actually, a friend of mine.
Yeah, I know, he is. Former teacher.
If I bring this up, he's upset.
So, same person?
Yeah, well, no, not the one in Texas. There's
No,
one there
I know the
that
one in Texas.
would like to see, it actually made a scenic road and remain gravel.
That doesn't affect us. It just goes the same road route. It's not an issue for us. That's a road commission issue. Yes, if it goes the paved road route, that road would not be a sin.
Yeah.
Yes, every tree with that 20 feet, anywhere in the hills are history. Like you say, that's going up and down, if they raise those,
I use it for driver's training,
so.
it's fun.
Well, that's why it's not safe.
So the one was the property on the corners, you know, the edges, those were the 2 of the ones. So, okay, where do we, I mean, that's just a dream at this point, is that what you're saying? Off there, okay. Do we have time to do some prioritization for the next item? If you have a notepad there, I'll kind of just list some things here.
Get some thought process.
Yeah, you can think it over. So, I'm going to mention some of the priorities, and if you guys, if I don't mention one, I'm smart going off because I don't think it really fits with the discussion, but acquired property, we talked about. Senior center,
Yes.
well, yeah, you're gonna write your priorities down. The acquired property. If you can mark on your sheet, you just mark them as I go around. Yeah, I got the sheet there. So yeah, I want you to rank them, like your top 5. So acquired property, senior center development, library expansion, Veterans Plaza, Rosewood Park, and I'll just lump some of the trails. We talked about a lot of different ones, but trails, whatever one that would be. Signage. Probably, with that small number, we need to probably do top 3, would you think?
Well, I can tell you anything that doesn't have
Let's do Chicago Drive landscaping. That's what I was trying to get one across. Chicago Drive landscaping, which is down there, because even if it's at a more moderate level.
Did you ever see everything without cost, we already just told you to do it?
Yeah, I got that, I'm crossing all those off, yeah. Complete street plan was kind of already off people's list, but you can mark that on there if you want to.
Oh, that's gotta be on.
Okay. So it's kind of a list of the ones that have significant costs associated with it. You think top 3 we should go with, because it's not that big a number? Nine. Top 4, you should just put them all in order. If you want to rank them all.
What's the 9th one? I only got
Complete
paid.
streets.
Complete streets.
I put that on.
I've got acquired property, then I've got senior center, then I've got library, then I've got Vets Plaza, then Rosewood Park,
Oh,
then
Trail.
trails, then signage, private landscaping, and complete streets.
So you want to rank all 9, or you want to rank the top 3? What do you want to do?
We're gonna go to the top 3, do we want to rank them?
You can rank them all, that's fine.
we get 4 votes.
Well, that's why.
Well, we're gonna, oh, I see.
That's what I was just asking. He wants you to rank all 9.
But you won't know. Because if you-
1 through 9, which you gotta rank.
Yeah.
Put it 1 through 9 next time. Or do you want to just, I was just saying pick the top 4.
Yeah, so all I do is I pick one top.
Put it 1 through 9 is what he says, so.
And then
I think the signage one should come off, because it's just sort of something we've more or less approved, and we're just implementing. It's just in the case of implementation or something.
I don't know what the problem with that.
I mean, you know what I mean? Because it's gonna get ranked outside the top 5 in a sense, because everybody go, wow, we're kind of doing that or whatever.
Okay.
Sure.
We're down to 8 now.
Is it bad when it's easier for you to start with 9?
List some, but
Is Rosewood Park meeting what we discussed the last meeting? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still have 7, this is 8. Last one is 1.
I see. So, yeah.
So you got 7.
Fire property, so.
Oh.
Yeah, the choir, senior center, library, that runs the road, park, trail, complete streets in Chicago.
Do you want us to?
I did mine on here.
Oh, I knew where that was.
I put it on another sheet or something.
No, I'm okay. I'm just not very.
You should have signage. Yeah, you need
I'm
it.
just like,
No signage came on.
all the, there's 7.
Yes.
Okay, Bruce, I've seen that.
Just take a look. Here, let me drop some off that I have given you.
Cakes are done. Carol is finished. Yes. Yes, if you have a cake, is it done? It's not, it's finished. Well, you, it's finished. Remember that? English class? Done, finished. Well, that is a central area, that's what made me
Oh.
just,
I like it without the consider, it's so good.
I was looking at the figure, you could have, that's the figure means there's 5 stations I noticed around there, just for an idea.
But yeah, for the property, the senior center.
Good.
John, do you have an opinion on Chicago Driver, complete streets, which ones sit out and which ones?
It's Complete Street.
Is the last or the second?
I'll make him say I'm wrong for the rich. I'll make him say I'm
Which one would you rather do?
Hey, you're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Yeah, we don't have to.
I mean, some people catch the veggie, some don't.
Hey, I'm gonna leave you behind. This bus has moved.
Oh, Chicago Driver, complete streets are in here. Okay, complete streets that one?
Thank you.
All right, so. The top score is senior center. That's big, it's hard to recognize. Those are parts of section. And then acquired properties. That's about, the next thing offer. No, senior center's first, that's about the second, yeah. And we got a tie for Rose Georgetown and acquired property. And then trails. And then the library.
I said I have number 1 and 2. No, I don't mean I express that. So.
Yeah, I think he was actually not that lower than numbers.
I did, I'm sorry, I had 9.
He had one extreme.
Sorry.
Oh, extra vote there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Rosewood Park is. On the yourself.
So we got Rosewood, I'm sorry, Senior Center is 1, Vets Plaza is 2, Rosewood Park is 3, acquired property is 4, the 3 and the 4 are very close. So those are the top 4. Well, at the bottom it kind of gets such a different spread that it's hard to tell. Chicago Drive landscaping is probably the last.
It's hard because you don't have Ron here to excuse it. Yeah, it's one set of the, it's one of the,
Yeah.
gotta be able to give us input.
What is the library expansion? Library expansion.
Library,
So the ranking.
that would be 5, yeah.
Number 5.
Yeah. And this will be in the minutes. But we are just like a set of board members.
Right, that's huge.
That's what it was.
Yeah, we'll put this in the minutes. I give it to you. You want everything? What do you want?
Oh, just,
the way in.
Okay, 5 was library, 6 was trails, 7 was complete streets, 8 was Chicago. Trails. Complete streets. Chicago Drive landscape. No, it's
Signage.
We already used.
Oh, that's the one you eliminated.
That's why you.
Oh, okay. I knew you eliminated one.
5 of us eliminated.
Just do a little extra math for us here, yeah. So, well, we have a few minutes here. Well, any questions or comments on these, or what do you want to do with these, or we can take a little break before the next meeting?
Give them, yeah, send them to us.
Yeah,
Rank them and the values.
Yep.
Just point out, senior center came out number 1. Again.
They always do.
Well, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 3 seniors here.
I'd like to point out, 2 of those 3 seniors did not rank at number 1 though.
I didn't.
I didn't.
You did. So
We don't think we're seniors,
It wasn't
really.
a senior vote carrying.
Which is senior
Everything else, that's Plaza 1,
Senior.
and that's Senior Center too?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. It's the same thing.
You got it.
It's the same thing.
You got it. You got it.
And was your vet Memorial
Okay.
2 and Senior Center 1?
We'll take 5.
That is not true for me.
Rich is one and Complete Streets drug it down from 8th to 7th place.
Oh, you're talking.
Do we get to hear the results, or we gotta wait for that?
I'll put it in the minutes. Did you not hear him? Did I say him loud
Just
enough?
shared them.
Could you repeat that? Thank you.
So number 1 was Senior Center. Number 2 was the Vets Plaza. Number 3 was Rosewood Park. Number 4 was acquired property. Number 5 was trails. I'm sorry, 5 was library. 6 was trails. 7 was complete streets, and 8 was Chicago Drive landscape.
Okay.
We should bundle them all together and just put a price tag on it, put it on the ballot or something.
Yeah. Ready
Let's
to-
try that, sorry.
I move to adjourn.
Sorry.
Support.
Aye.
Action.
There, there.